Do you have an idea for a cosmetic line, but you don't know what to do next? Or maybe you have even put together some formulas that your friends and family love, but you don't know how to turn that into a product that you could sell. In this video, I'm going to show you the 7 steps you must follow to turn your idea into an actual cosmetic product. Now, imagine for a moment a world in which you've taken that idea or formula and actually turned it into your own cosmetic product line. Just think of all the people who will be using and enjoying products created by you. Think about the people who you'll be helping feel better about themselves. And think of the sense of satisfaction you'll feel and the independence you'll gain by starting your own beauty product line. Is this something that appeals to you? Hi, I'm Perry Romanowski, a cosmetic chemist and creator of websites like Chemist Corner, which teaches people how to make cosmetics, and The Beauty Brains, which helps consumers become smarter about their beauty product purchases. I've personally developed formulas for brands like Tresemme, Nexxus, St. Ives, and VO5, plus have launched my own product line and have helped numerous other people launch product lines of their own. I've been a cosmetic chemist in the industry for over 25 years, and I love it. And I also love teaching people about the science and business of cosmetics. All right, let's get on with the 7 steps to launch your cosmetic product line. Step 1. You have to come up with an idea. Now, you might already have an idea, or you might have just seen a product that you like, and you want to copy something that is already out there. That's okay. But if you don't have an idea, you could use brainstorming techniques to come up with one. You could also ask people what kind of products that they want, or you could even look through beauty blogs or forums and identify some problem that isn't being addressed by products on the market right now. However you come up with the idea is fine, you just need to have one. And once you have the idea, you need to focus it down to something that is simple and makes sense. Ideally, you'll be able to describe your idea in a single sentence. For example, a single sentence to describe a brand like Tresemme is professional hair products at affordable prices. Or a brand like Burt's Bees is earth-friendly, natural personal care products. And once you have your idea narrowed down to a simple sentence, run it by friends and family and see what they think. Do they get it? Do they understand the idea? Now, don't worry too much whether they think the idea is good or not. What's most important is that they understand it. If they don't understand it, revise your idea into something until somebody else can understand what your idea is. Now, once you've gotten your idea down to something that people understand, you're ready for step 2, which is figuring out whether your idea is any good. Of course, you think your idea is good, and if the world was filled with people just like you, you'd have a sure winner on your hands. Unfortunately, not everyone in the world is like you, so you'll have to find out whether enough other people think it's a good idea before you move forward. Some people think that if their idea is unique and no one else is doing it, that's a good thing. Well, the reality is, if nobody else is doing your idea, there's probably one of 2 reasons. First, someone else already tried the idea and it didn't work. Or second, no one else has figured out the technology or a way to do the idea in a way that works. In either case, if you can't find someone or some product on the market already which is similar to your idea, then you better go back and find a new idea. Ideally, you'll want to create products that are similar to something already for sale, but you improve it in some noticeable way. So a great way to figure out if your idea is any good is to first search the market for similar products. A great place to look through products is on Amazon.com, where they have a beauty section. The great part about this source is that they even tell you how well a product is selling. If you find something similar to your product and it sells a lot, then that's good news. But if you find something that doesn't sell much, well, then there's a little less, that makes the idea a little less appealing. Ideally, you'll want to come up with a product idea for which someone else is already selling a good amount. Your goal would be to make the product a little better and get those sales. There are other ways to see if your idea is any good, but finding a good selling competitor is a great start. All right, after you've validated that your idea at least has some potential, it's time for step 3, which is turning your product idea into a prototype. Now, there are two ways you can do this. First, you can search the internet for product formulas. There are lots of sources. Then you can get the raw materials, get the equipment, and mix up a batch. There are a ton of do-it-yourself and hobbyist websites which will have reasonable formulas. Of course, there are also numerous websites like these that have worthless formulas, so it may be a challenge to find something that's suitable. But it can be done. Now, the other way to get your prototype made is to find a chemist. If you're serious about launching a cosmetic product business, starting with a chemist is probably the better choice. I'm not saying you can't make the products yourself. I'm just saying creating the actual formula is only a small part of the process of creating a successful beauty product line, and if you can outsource this work, you'll get it done much more quickly and more professionally. The prototyping stage might take some time, but when you get something that is reasonably close, you can begin with step 4, which is testing your product. First, you'll want to make sure it performs the way you want, so by all means, try the product. Compare it to your competitors. Does it work as well? Is it better? At the very least, you'll want something that is just as good as anything else on the market. There is a process called benchmarking where you find the best products on the market and then you try to make formulas that are as good or ideally better. Now, in addition to trying the product yourself, you should also give samples to friends and family and see what they think. Ideally, you'll also have people in your target market try the product and then get their feedback. The goal at this stage is to just make sure you've created a product that reasonably satisfies the expectations of your customers. It doesn't have to be perfect. Don't let perfection slow up your launch. You can always make the product better after you launch. Now, this is one of the biggest hurdles for most people. They try to make things perfect and never end up launching their product line. Once you get feedback, improve the aspects of your formula that aren't working. Test it again. Eventually, you'll get something that works reasonably well. At that point, you'll be ready to move on to step 5, which is finalizing your product. Now, there are a lot of things you'll have to do to finalize your product and make sure it's legal to sell and that it looks great. This includes things like creating your labels with the proper information on them, getting the right packaging to make the product look great, finding the right fragrance for your product, and finding a way to get your product made on a large scale. The regulatory information is easy enough to find. If you're in the US, the FDA publishes a detailed report on exactly the type of information you have to put on every label. This is things like the ingredient list, product identification, business address, and more. Anyone can read this and figure out the information they need to include, but it's much easier to just hire somebody who knows what they're doing to make sure it gets done right. And since the label is one of the key pieces which will help to sell your product, you also want to get something that looks professional and is appealing to your consumer group. If you have any graphic artist skills, you might do this yourself, but this is another thing that is probably better handled by a pro. To finalize your product, you'll also need to get packaging, and there are a wide range of options for you to pick from. You'll probably be limited to standard packaging since creating your own bottle mold can be super expensive, but with the right label, you can make a really good looking product. Other things that you have to do to finalize your product before you can start selling it is to conduct the proper safety testing like irritation tests, microbiological tests, claims tests, and even stability tests. Now, these aren't hard to do, but you need the right equipment and procedures, so most people starting out just find a lab to get the necessary testing done. Incidentally, when you are first starting out, some people prefer to make big batches of their products at their own place, say their garage or in their basement. And this might be okay for a test launch, but if you are really serious about launching your product line, you're going to want to find a manufacturing facility to make a reasonable amount of products at the start. There are small manufacturers all over the country and the world for that matter. You just need to find the right one and know the right questions to ask. At this point, you'll also need to spend some money to get your first production runs made. But while you're waiting to get your first production run made, you can move on to step 6, which is setting up your business and your website. In the old days, it was very difficult to start your own cosmetic line. And the main reason for this was that there was no easy way to distribute your product. It was really hard to let anyone know about your product unless you were able to get it sold in a store or a salon or a spa. Now, if you didn't know somebody at one of these places and you didn't have any product sales, this was really hard. It's still really hard to get your product into stores for sales. Fortunately, there is an easier way to get started. You can offer your product for sale on the internet. All you have to do is get a website, set it up, write up some descriptions of your product, and create a way to start taking orders. Now, when you're creating your website and other marketing materials, you'll have to come up with a good brand name. What do you want to call your product? There are a ton of product names already, but you want to pick something that is easy to say, memorable, unique, and reflects something about your products. Some people just use their own name, and that can work, but other people come up with cool sounding words or descriptive brand names or whatever they want. There is no magic way to come up with the perfect name. The most important thing to do is to pick something and just go with it. You don't want to hold up your product launch because you can't figure out a good name. Any name can be made good with the right marketing. Now, an important thing to note about the name is that you'll want something that isn't already trademarked so you can legally use it, and ideally, it's going to be a name where you can get the website address and all the social media accounts that go with it. Of course, there are numerous tricks and techniques for setting up a website that are going to help you successfully sell your cosmetic line, and a lot has been written on the internet about it. But if you don't have the time or the computer savvy, it's worthwhile to hire someone to help you put this together. If you haven't done so yet, you'll want to set up a business before you start selling your products. Now, in the United States, it's easy enough to set up a business, and it's important to do because it will protect you from potential lawsuits that sometimes get filed against successful product lines. Being a business will also make it easier for you to get product insurance, which will further protect you. Once you get your website up, you'll be ready for the seventh and final step to launching your own product line, marketing and selling your product. Marketing is simple. All you have to do is find people who want your products and show them how to get your products. Then you fill the orders and just keep repeating that process until you're so rich you want to completely sell off your product and company. Of course, just because the principle of marketing is simple, that doesn't mean it's simple to execute. You've got to find people who want to buy your product. You've got to create a message or a compelling story which they like and motivates them to buy your product. And you've got to keep offering them value so they repeatedly buy your product. Unfortunately, there is no magic formula for every product or brand to follow. There are lots of techniques you can use, and one of the best ones for startup cosmetic brands is email marketing. This is just a technique in which you get people to come to your website, give them a compelling reason to give you their email address, and then you send appropriate product offers that they find irresistible so they buy your products. You can also use social media to drive traffic to your website and communicate with your customers. You should strive to create a community around your product. Make people identify with your brands and products. When they see themselves in your products, they'll make your products a part of their lives and be a customer forever. Brands like Apple and Coke have done a great job of creating a community of customers, or better yet, a group of die-hard fans. That's really what you want to do. Create fans who love everything you do. If you have enough fans, you'll have a successful cosmetic product line. All right, just to recap the 7 steps you need to take to launch your own cosmetic product line. These include 1. Come up with an idea. Next, figure out if the idea is any good. 3rd, create some prototypes. 4th, test your products with users. 5th, finalize your formula and get it ready for sale. 6th, create your website to start making sales. And finally, the 7th step is to market and sell your products to the customers who most want it. Sounds simple, right? Now, is this something that you think you can do? Well, in concept, It is simple and straightforward. Launching a beauty product line is not super complicated. Really, it's something that anyone can do. You just need to have the right idea, but the right knowledge of the process and then the passion to make it happen. Oh, and it also helps to have a little bit of money that you can invest in this. Now, it's not going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars to launch your own line, but it will cost more than a few $100s. Launching a product line really can't be done with zero money. Now, you might also be wondering whether you can compete with all the beauty brands that are out there. Well, in these days of the internet, you certainly can compete, even against the biggest beauty companies out there. You don't need a huge following to create a successful brand. You just need enough fans who love your products to create a business that can sustain you and your family. And how do you create these fans? Well, that is something we're going to cover in the next video. Now, I'd love to get some feedback from you about this video. Could you please leave a comment below and let me know what you think? If you have a question or want to see another topic covered, feel free to let me know. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Perry Romanowski, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.